important because it is still a bit of a guessing game sometimes on this map. People are not as confident. I don't care how many times you scrim it, people are not as confident in these zones, and you need as much information as possible.
My question to you, Dan Gaskin, very simple one. You ready?
I am born ready.
Let's get into this one. It is the continuation of match point finals. Broken Moon is where we find ourselves. It's match number 3.
As I said, 12 Cryptos, 10 Catalysts featuring as well. But then we've got Fuse Newcastle, Sparrow, Rampart, Valkyrie, Wraith, Ballistic, Pathfinder. There is a big legend selection here already in match 3. People starting to diversify a little bit, trying to find maybe a composition that won't get banned going into future games here.
What a clutch it was from Sorcerer in that endgame as well. I think everybody who was watching in the green room backstage was just all of a sudden at the same time went, 1v1v1, he can win this. And all of a sudden, he peeks up behind the last remaining player, gets that beautiful spray with the Havoc and finishes off with the hip fire of that Scout. Those moments calm every single nerve in your body. During the moment, you find out nerves exist that you didn't know existed before.
I love final circles like that as well, because it's one of those where sometimes you get, you know, the 3v3v3, where one team pushes another, and then it's an easy flow thereafter for the team that follows up. But we didn't have any idea who was going to be winning that one. Well, this is the lay of the land and where the zone is going to be heading. You see Furia already moving very quickly from Cliffside, Fnatic moving fast as well, but they might walk in to Na'Vi, who are quite spread out, because the zone is going to be heading up to around Stasis Array, as you can now see on your screen. But I think actually Fnatic might just hold this position you currently see on your map, and then Na'Vi will join in on their rotation.
We'll have to see where this zone does pull. Stasis Array usually a pretty good indication outside of that fence line, kind of in the open ground. It's usually a pretty good indication of where it's going to be going. We've got a little bit of a pause in the game at the moment. We'll get back into it. Good news for everybody, including the players, ourselves, everyone watching at home, fans, wherever you are in the building. No kills, no engagements as yet, so this pause won't affect the game too much.
When it comes to the best teams that we've seen so far in this tournament on Broken Moon, or at least the highest kill teams, it would be Alliance. Pretty expected, I think, when you look across the board, who is going to get the most kills. And I think that's because Alliance, when you come on a map like this, it does provide a little bit of aggression, a little bit of uncertainty. They thrive in this environment of taking those team fights over and over again. TSM, another team that have done very well on this map when it comes to kills. Sentinels as well doing the same, and actually Team Liquid. I mean, if you think back to that production yard game yesterday when the zone started to pull their way, but they really commanded space on that side of the map and didn't allow anyone to take that position off them.
I'm going to start talking about ring consoles, but we'll leave that until we get back into the game so that nobody gets any extra information that we're privy to, that maybe they won't be if we're going out in the arena. Look at Sentinels as well. Great run from them yesterday. You mentioned the production yard game. What a game that was for Sentinels yesterday. And I mentioned this about Sentinels yesterday. I was so impressed how they always felt like when they were fighting, they were in arm's reach of each other. Baiting and switching was superb in some of those fights. And when they had to death ball and all 3 players flush through one door to isolate one player who'd separated from another team, they did that almost instantaneously. It felt instinctive the way they were fighting.
They really thrived in an altar environment as well. They were prepared to go through the Void Passage together. They were very clear on their communications on whether you're going to one side or the other, but we have no altar here in this Broken Moon game. Instead, it's going to be plenty of Ashe.
We did see some clutch Ashe moments. Effect will remind you of the one that he had in that 1v1 that we did see, or should I say a 1v3 at one point. As we go back into match number 3 now, the game is unpaused and we get to continue what is going to be Broken Moon.
So one thing I do want to highlight, and the fact that we did get Watson banned in game 1 means that a crypto ban in general is less likely to happen in these early stages. And there are teams who really benefit from the crypto meta. I think of the likes of Alliance, I think of the likes of Falcons, teams who have these incredible IGLs. They get even extra information provided to them. When will Crypto be banned? Will he even be banned at all?
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. Crypto certainly not banned, and Na'Vi finding that out themselves at the moment. As they do get EMP'd, and it's going to be Panic once again leading the charge here, trying to be that entry fragger as TSM pressurize Na'Vi inside of this building.
TSM showing aggression at the start of the game yet again, really wanting to find one of these dominant spots from the early stages.
Duplex has gone down, that's the Newcastle down as well, and now Panic is thinking about escaping rather than engaging. It looks like he might have just been able to do so. This isn't just 2 teams, by the way. That was TSM and Rock Esports are here as well. Jacko has to jump into the void here to escape. Deeds gets that wall down, but there's a grenade just behind him. Got to be careful that frag grenade doesn't tickle him around the corners. Deeds will be able to pop this barrier as now they stand up against each other once again. Elsewhere, you can see the rest of TSM struggling as Fnatic get involved.
I mean, these are huge teams fighting early on as TSM will be eliminated, could not escape. Fnatic were able to clean up the pieces. Now ROC using this Newcastle shield wall and will clean up the pieces of Na'Vi as well. Our #1 team now up to 30 points, 20 away from match point threshold.
And if you're wondering why there's so much action on this one particular building, well, I think a lot of teams recognize this building is going to be essentially where Godspot could well be when we get towards this end game. So everybody take a little bit of a risk early on. Na'Vi win the race to get there first. TSM try and take it off of them, but Na'Vi stalling them for that long and other teams rotating quickly means it becomes a little bit of a ruckus. And the winners of that ruckus, the team who won the previous game, is going to be Rock.
And the fact that there were several teams there shows how important they believe this building to be in the grand scheme of things, where this zone is going to be going and where you want as your priority spot. As in the kill feed, you can see Sentinels also getting involved in a scrap with Virtus Pro, but also Nemesis are on the other side of this.
Yeah, Riley's down. And you can see that Carter and Lota just decide they want to get out of here. Might be a little bit of a split of resources as Nemesis do manage to hold their ground. A great hold from them. Second place in game #1 for Nemesis. We've been talking about the EMEA region, how maybe didn't have the representation they would have wanted in this match point finals lobby. Well, Nemesis, I think, have maybe solidified themselves as one of those top 3 teams in EMEA, one of the teams to make it through to match point. And with the, I would say, relative to the rest of the lobby, low LAN experience for these players, it is such an impressive performance.
It's going to be vital experience they gain throughout this lobby, game after game after game as well. And it's about putting that into effect as you march on, because if this does go the length, like you said it might, and suddenly some of the things you learn in games 1, 2, 3 could come into effect games 8, 9, 10, as Falcons, Imperial Howl will take down Zach Meza. Virtus Pro struggling to find their footing in this game at the moment. Seems like anywhere they go, they're being shot by someone.
Volz is trying to play up on the position of Rocket. He wants to try and find a cheeky pick. He's got the Ash to play with, so he's got the maneuverability to get in and out. And having recognized the drone went out and that he's been spotted out, he's just going to return to the safety of his teammates here. It looked like that knock from Falcons came in from a distance. So it looks like VP will be able to get Zach back to his feet. Little shield swap comes in to make sure everyone's got enough health to deal with a push should it happen. Now VP will be able to hug these tires of the big truck, get themselves healthy once again.
And I do wonder whether stats are going to play a part in this game, because as I mentioned, Eternal Gardens, the most winningest POI on this map so far. ROC did drop there, and they have been able to get priorities in this zone very fast. We could see another win from Eternal Gardens just from the position they currently hold. But they've done job 1, which is getting to one of the best positions and win that initial fight. But of course, there is a lot to follow. You're not always going to be in a 1v1v1 in the final circle. Sometimes you're going to have to take a straight 3v3.
VP under a little bit of duress at the moment. You see a lot of teams are trying to focus onto them. They're now starting to find a little bit of space to play. Lou's going to jump into the drone to get a little bit of info. Sentinels did manage to get a respawn in all of this, by the way. And oh my! I mentioned how they're under duress. Well, Carter, it's a big 104 headshot onto Slayer, gets the finish, and VP now find themselves down to 2.
Gets the shot, then he is out of there as well. Again, one of the benefits of Ash having the phase breach available, so you can quickly move from point A to point B. Sadly, you won't be able to do it in the next game. And this is another reason why I'm wondering when will a crypto ban, if at all, happen, because people want the rotational abilities. They want the ability to get out of fights. So once Ash disappears, suddenly people start to look at how else are we going to do it? We've already lost Alter, we've lost Ash. Do we look over to the likes of Pathfinder, for example?
One thing to highlight there, VP did have a Moby down while they were holding that space, so they've been able to get Slayer back into the game. So VP back up to 3. Sentinels, of course, will be credited with that point, with the kill that they did manage to get, but doesn't really affect the long game here for VP. Slayer's going to be able to land on his box to get all of that loot back. Looking at where the zone is going, a little bit of a shift, potentially to the east here, and teams who have taken up residence in Eternal Gardens might be hoping for a big pullback that side.
Yeah, and even though, I mean, the Sentinels had priority to the zone, or one of the teams that had priority, they're going to be on that western side over towards Stasis Array. So they're instead going to have to force their way through some teams here, and instead it's going to be teams like ROC who are going to be some of the better positions. But if it does continue to pull to Eternal Gardens, there's a big choke there that is going to be near impossible for any of these western teams to actually get through. So you need to either move early or be prepared to fight as you move.
EK Gaming a long way away from zone at the moment. They're trying to get somewhere near it. Wrapping all the way around the left-hand side of where this zone is at the moment. They're going to have to go through a little tunnel towards Quarantine Zone, probably hit the ring console there and the survey beacon. Liquid are going to be closest to them, but again, some way away for now. But VK Gaming, second place overall at the moment. 26 points already on the board for them, over halfway to hitting match point.
You always wonder what is going to be that game where suddenly match point comes into effect. As I mentioned last year, it was 60 points here at Esports World Cup, but this year, as it's the ALGS mid-season playoffs, we go to ALGS format. It will be 50 points. So ROC, if they were to win this game, and let's be honest, in the position they find themselves in, they have a huge chance to do so. There is a possibility they could cross it here in match 3.
We just saw Zero's dad in the audience, as well as Privacy, the analyst for Falcons. Speaking of Falcons, they're actually in a really good spot on the northern side of not just where this zone is, but where the next one will be pulling. So if Falcons can hold this choke that they're in, they will be set up for potentially a very, very strong game. VK Gaming still taking their time, though. Still a long way away from a lot of the action that's going to be going down. They'll be safe for quite some time. Speaking of action, Team Liquid trying to get underneath Nemesis.
There's a couple of teams involved in this one. You can see SAUL are going up against team rivals as well. Team Liquid down to just Jaguares and Nizel now. Yanya has to be recovered and then potentially respawned, but they do have the mobile res.
Obi is available for them. But VP now, they sense an opportunity. Big Tether coming in from Nizel though. Plus he's got the Devo. Plus he is a problem. Slayer's turned his back, but he turns back just in time to win the fight here for VP. Question is he going to be out of res? You would imagine not, because Nemesis hear all the ruckers. They extend out, they will clean out the bottom of this building, and in the meantime, as VP fall, the killer truck will fall as well.
Yeah, falling to Alliance, but that's a great three-player swing there from Team Nemesis. You spoke about Sentinels playing arm-to-arm. Well, Nemesis were basically holding hands at that point, because you just ensure you don't want to allow anything to happen, any sort of weird 1v3 to go down if you push one after the other. As a care package or a mythic bin, I think it is a care package is going to be looted by Zero, so Falcons are going to have some goodies to play with. Speaking of mythic bin, looks like it spawned over towards 100 Thieves. So maybe they'll be able to get some goodies here once this zone closes.
Yeah, a little bit of a different story for 100 Thieves who are on our screen right now. If they can get that mythic bin, it'll be fantastic for them. They've got Furia in front of them. They've got Nemesis still inside of Stasis Rail going to be holding them out. Plus, they've got Sentinels and SAUL, or the leftovers of SAUL, who could potentially pinch in behind them. So getting that extra little bit of goodies and extra bit of loot is going to be very vital for their success.
And just to point out the composition from 100 Thieves, Catalyst, Newcastle, Sparrow. That is not a composition that's really going to see much effect on bans, as SAUL down to just Legacy, by the way. Sentinel's looking to close this one out.
They try and do what he can, but the swing's now going to come in, and even though he manages to dash it away, he doesn't escape the devotion. Not many people can. And SAUL will be eliminated here as we find ourselves now with 14 squads.
Just to go back to my previous point, 100 Thieves might be able to avoid bans for a couple of games here, and there is something to be said about playing the same composition for a consistent few games to put points on the board. As in terms of zone, it does shift back towards ROC again, who are still being rewarded for their early fight that they took, the aggression that also TSM tried to do as well. All these teams realized where this zone was going to be pulling. They hedged their bets, but it's ROC who have come out on top so far.
Mythic bin is going to be picked up by the looks of things by 100 Thieves. We did see them on blue armors last time with them, and now there's purples and reds to play with. So we mentioned how they're going to need everything from that Mythic bin if they want to be able to fight their way in towards this zone. Well, they've completed stage 1 of that plan, but Furious still in front of them. This is the position of Falcons, though. At the moment, you can see Imperial How is holding forward. He is controlling and relaying the information back to his teammates on what is in front of them for the next zone. But they have to hold their back. They have the drone in the air from Waltzy, Zero alongside him. If they can hold their back as this zone closes, Falcons are in a great spot.
Falcons need to see how important this game is and their chances of finding points, because the first 2 matches, they didn't really get a chance to play the game. But now perhaps we'll see them with their best opportunity as VK Gaming will walk in, thankfully, because Rival Esports had decided to fly away there, but VK now with the zone to their back have to approach the southern side, and I think Alliance are going to be in front of them when they do move in.
Well, Rival Esports have just pushed Rival Esports down to that low ground to the golden building, which is still owned by ROC. So Rock still hold that building, but Alliance's presence on the edge of this zone has made it very uncomfortable. Speaking of which, Gen is on his own. 100 Thieves versus Furia. We've seen it, and now Gen has to clutch. Sprays, plays in and around that mobile shield. We'll keep our eyes on the kill feed here to see where that 1v1 goes, but A big moment in the game for both teams.
Yeah, a huge 1v1. Elsewhere, Rival Esports trying to survive against ROC. And you can see Furia did lose out there. 100 Thieves will survive. Genji also going down. Now we're on 12 squads. But Rival Esports have managed to find themselves in a pretty central position here. They avoided the gunfire of ROC because, of course, they're within that building. And the zone is going to force ROC outside of it. But now they have to turn their attention to behind them, where Alliance currently reside. Oh, this is aggressive.
Trying to get aggressive off the EMP damage that just came in. But getting aggressive is tough, especially when you've got ROC still looking at you from that golden building. They will get that knock initially. Damage continuing to come in here. Unlucky, 1 HP, but it doesn't matter. He still outputs damage. He tiptoes into the zone. He'll pop that medkit after the shield swap, and Rival Esports will be dispatched by a combination of Alliance and ROC.
How many times have we seen Alliance do it as a duo? But it doesn't matter which duo is still available. They will always find a way to survive. One of the best fighting teams.
Fnatic now in this fight. Important to note as well, the 100 Thieves got back up to a 3. So the clutch that came in from Verhos absolutely in and around the walls in front of him. Fnatic will fall as now we find ourselves with a lobby and half. 10 squads remain.
10 squads remain as now everyone's kind of been forced together. There are still 3 teams on that eastern side that have to come from Eternal Gardens, by the way. But Alliance were just checking in on that building. They quickly turn back as they say maybe this one isn't worth pushing because ROC have a full 3, but now Alliance back up to a full 3 themselves, and this is when they usually like to get aggressive, when they feel like a team is weak, when they feel like they have maybe an advantage, when a team is pinned. Sometimes they do really force their way in.
They want to try and take this building. They don't have they might have an EMP or be waiting for an EMP, as Wolves Esports will be eliminated. It'll be Ninjas in Pajamas who win that fight. But this fight we need to stay with here, or this potential fight, is Alliance are looking to bully. And Deeds has got to hold.
Here comes the utility, here comes the EMP, and here comes the snares.
Counter wall is available though. Ninjas in Pajamas have just gone down. Effect gets slammed back and will be slammed down onto his back. It's an amazing hold, not for the first time, of this building from ROC, and we would see Deeds on the Newcastle be able to get his teammates back up as well.
Again, this is the benefit of the composition that they're playing. I believe Hackis was out of there though, decided to go into his drone, go invisible, and just hold position for now, as there is still good potential placement points, but actually no, he gets caught out. He tries to go for the res. ROC Esports say we are not going to allow you to get away.
Yeah, absolutely love that from ROC. They know they've got the 2 knocks, right? They want to make sure those players not only turn into KP, but at the worst situation, they have to deal with just Hackis on the outside of that building. 41 points now on the board for ROC, 9 points away from match point.
Yeah, suddenly a top 3 might find them a chance to actually cross the match point threshold here. They've been incredible so far. Let's jump into a quick listen-in with ROC Esports.
I'll try, okay? Yeah. Grabbing all 6 cells. Trying to find nades. There's 1 nade on the body I just left. I got a nade, I have 6 bats. Okay, I'm gonna get a drone here.
That rock, right, Deets?
Yes, we have to fight for that rock. We need to push Falcons down, and that team bottom left.
EB, go off, get a drone,
You got peek Falcons over here. Zero's just fucking hard angling over here, and they're 2 on heights.
We just don't give them entry, guys.
Yeah. They're crossing, you shoot his teammates. On our left. They're walking up on our left on the rock.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm batting.
We have to focus left.
Focus left. I have to pump an ulti cell. They're on the heady over here.
On this rock.
On the rock and the heady.
I'm nading.
I pumped an ulti cell.
I'm just burning them so I can keep pressure on them.
You can hear the intensity. They know how close they are at this point. Something to note though, Falcons very much in this game and very much have a chance to influence how it goes. Zero has a Kraber and he has been hitting shots recently.
I mean, look at the team names that are left in this lobby right now. ROC, 100 Thieves, Falcons, Nemesis, Sentinels, and VK Gaming. This is going to be such a tough final circle to try and get into.
Falcons trying to survive. Sentinels make their play now a little bit closer to center zone. Zuni manages to get 1, but it's not going to be enough as Nemesis will now fall. Falcons take the Ashport and now slide down, but oh, how? That's a horrible surprise. He might have just slid down right into the clutches of VKG.
And suddenly ROC are pushing onto 100 Thieves as well, but VK will just take this fight against Falcons. 2 have gone down, just 0 left. Maybe he can escape for some placement, but VKG still showing their strength here in this lobby.
5 squads remain. 100 Thieves are going to lose Jen. Over peeking through the catwalk. Baxalon Be brought back to his feet here by Deeds momentarily, though. Deeds now has to escape on the Newcastle, but I mentioned that Kraber, and there is Zero again as a solo here for Falcons.
ROC will not be finding match point here, but Falcons maybe can do something still with Zero here.
Phony gets one in the back, but it's not going to remove that head. He will stay on his feet. No more Kraber bullets to work with, though, for Zero. That makes it a little bit more difficult for him to control the space around as that solo player.
I mean, I bet Zero would love a final circle like we just saw previously, ending up in a 1v1v1. But right now, there is 4 squads still remaining. I still want to point out the fact that 100 Thieves also have a Newcastle here, which could be very beneficial for them.
VK trying to hold at the moment, but Sentinels are pressurizing them. Sentinels are stifling them. And Casa is now the last player alive. VKG have been picked apart here. 100 Thieves still on that high ground, waiting for their opportunity to pounce.
Casa doing some good damage, but does get snared. Zero playing a part in this fight as well, but has now been spotted out. VK eliminated though. Falcons get top 3, but that's going to be short-lived. It's a 3v3, 100 Thieves versus Sen.
Carter has not had the chance to pop a shield barrier or get a shield swap though, and 100 Thieves will march forward. 100 Thieves from the high ground after the clutch will surely move in to win this game here. Game number 3 belongs to 100T, and Jen pops off.
And Phony has found another victory from the hospital bed to match point finals. 100 Thieves just put themselves right back into the conversation for this entire tournament, up to second place, 35 points on the board. And I said they did it with Catalyst, Newcastle, Sparrow. They'll be able to play that composition again. They are looking hot right now.
35 points on the board now for 100 Thieves. 15 away from match point, but it's ROC who will find themselves still closest. They finished with 42. They will be 8 points away as we take a good old look at Papa Burn.
A very happy man indeed, and for good reason. I'm sure that not only the 100 Thieves fans, but also the players were pretty worried when the news came of Phony having to go to hospital. You never know what's going to happen. Are we going to play with the coach? How are we going to do if Bronzy's going to be competing? As Jen Burton goes over to give his dad a hug as well. But the job's not done yet. 35 points, you still got another 15 before you even get to match point threshold. Then you have to find yet another victory.
Well, you looked at the graphic in the background there. Verhul stood front and center. Think back to, unfortunately, we didn't quite catch it, but the 1v1 clutch that he makes gets them back on their feet. 100 Thieves do not have a part in that end game unless Verhul's clutches the 1v1. They get the reset, they push their way towards zone, and off the back as well of the Mythic bin they picked up, and